In 2016, the Bank of England issued their first ever polymer banknotes to replace the paper £5 note with a cleaner, safer and stronger alternative. Collecting banknotes is a serious hobby that many thousands of people all over the world enjoy, and so it's no surprise that when these new notes were released, collectors were eager to start building up their collection. With so many stories in the press and listings on eBay claiming certain notes were worth way over face value, it's easy to see how the nation got swept away with the idea of the new polymer banknotes being worth thousands of pounds. So now, 6 years on, and with the Polymer banknote series complete, how much are your banknotes really worth? Well, stay tuned and keep watching. We recently found out that 775 million paper banknotes remain in circulation. Whilst the paper £10 and £5 notes have been withdrawn from circulation, the £20 and £50 notes will hold their legal tender status until the 30th of September this year. Now, according to the Bank of England, there are 113 million paper £5 notes still out there, with a further 73 million £10 notes too. So it seems as though people are keen to keep hold of their old banknotes, deeming them highly collectible. But remember, just because a paper note loses its legal tender status, they will always be exchanged by the Bank of England. Do you have any old paper notes in your collection? Well, let us know in the comments below. But it is time to find out just how much your polymer notes could currently be worth on the secondary market. When it comes to banknotes, you really need to pay attention to your serial numbers and your prefixes. Now, there are a few in particular that we think you should keep your eyes peeled for. In the early days following the release of the new notes, we're willing to bet that every single person in the country checked theirs at some point to see if they were lucky enough to find one with the prefix AA01. At the annual Bank of England charity auction held at Spink & Son Limited in London, they auctioned off a polymer £5 note with the serial number AA01000017 for a grand total of over £4,000. Whilst these first run banknotes may be desirable to some collectors, we must remember that 1 million AA01 banknotes were actually printed for each denomination. That being said, a quick look at the sold listings on eBay suggests that you may be able to sell your AA01 Churchill £5 note for around £19, which isn't a bad return. Now, if you've got your hands on one of the new Turing £50 notes with an AA01 serial number, then you could expect to make a return of around £15 if you were to sell it on the secondary market. Now, as of April 2022, the Polymer £50 banknote is selling for around £65, with uncirculated versions fetching higher prices due to their condition and quality. Considered collectible due to the machine gun connotations, polymer notes with the prefixes AK-47 were thought to be worth tens of thousands of pounds following the new £5 release in 2016. But with speculation that these £5 notes could be worth up to £80,000 on secondary markets during their initial release, they're now selling for around £7.50, giving you a £2.50 return. The same excitement picked up again following the Polymer £10 launch in 2017 and the Polymer £20 note launch in 2020, with some collectors paying between £20 and £40 for an AK-47 note. But since then, prices have come down to a much more reasonable level, with an AK-47 £10 banknote selling for around £15 and the AK-47 £20 banknote selling for around £28. The Polymer £50 note with an AK-47 serial number is currently fetching around £80, which is a considerable return, but we have to remember that this is relatively still new, so we might see these prices fluctuate over the coming months. Quite often, key anniversary dates appearing with the banknote serial number, which are relevant to the person celebrated on it, can increase the banknote's value on secondary markets. For example, in 2017, a Polymer £10 note with the serial number AH1775, which is the year of Jane Austen's birth, sold on eBay for a whopping £3,600, which is 360 times its face value, which is just incredible. Key serial numbers collectors would be interested in can include the dates of Winston Churchill's birth and death, and Jane Austen's birth and the date of her death too. And of course, serial numbers representing JMW Turner's date of birth and the numerical code for his death as well. But for the brand new Alan Turing £50 note, we'd recommend keeping your eyes peeled for the serial numbers 23061912 for his birth, 0706 1954 for his death, and perhaps even 0907 1941 for the date that the Enigma code was cracked. But for the more serious banknote collector, it's not about the serial numbers, but instead the chief cashier's signature. Banknote designs rarely change, but on average, cashiers change every 5 or 6 years, with some in the position for as little as 3. For example, John Kendrick's signature appeared for the shortest amount of time on a UK banknote in 1694, before Thomas Speed's signature replaced him for 5 years. But since 2018, Sarah John has been the chief cashier, so her signature appears on not only the JMW Turner £20 note, but also the Alan Turing £50 note too. So with the £50 note being the last in the Bank of England's collection to switch to Polymer, let's recap which serial numbers you need to be looking out for. AA01 prefixes. Well, whilst the excitement of these notes dies down quite quickly after release, if you're lucky enough to have found one of these in the early days of issue, you may have received a nice return if you sold it. And AK47 prefixes have proven to be very popular with collectors across all of the Polymer note denominations, so keep your eyes peeled for these ones. And of course, there are also significant dates to look out for that could be related to the person celebrated on the note, for example, birthdays or anniversaries. So which banknotes do you have in your collection? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications so you never miss a video. And if you are listening to the Change Checker podcast, thanks so much for joining us. And if you are new to the podcast, remember that we are available across all major streaming platforms. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time.